podcast. I'm your host, Joel, my co-host, Ben. It's Super Bowl Sunday, and we are recording this on a Monday, so there's a lot that can happen from then and now. Likely all the questionable players get moved to probable just because you're going to give them the offseason to recover. And there's a few. There's about 4 or 5 on each team. There might even be some last-minute activations off IR. So, again, some things could change. But, Ben, what are your initial thoughts on the Super Bowl? Who do you like, and who are going to be what are the keys to the game?
Well, it definitely isn't the Super Bowl I thought it was going to be. I mean, the Rams, I always give a pretty good chance. But Bengals, that was quite a bit of a surprise. But they got hot at the right time. And Burrell has really elevated his game to be, into a top 5 quarterback level play lately. Keys to the game. Can Cincinnati front actually, block the Rams front 7? I know Burrow's been just chased and beat up a ton, even in the playoffs, and he's held in there, but this front's a little bit different than what he's already seen. It's a whole different animal. And then, if they do, can he, the matchup in the secondary, the Bengals receivers versus the Rams DBs. I mean, the Rams have great secondary. Jaylen Ramsey, David Long, it's been amazing.
Darius Williams, Weddle was one of the best players last week, actually.
Right. I mean, that's a crazy good secondary who can, if there's a secondary out there that can hold their own against that trio of receivers that we've been talking about since the latter half of the season. It's probably these guys, and couple that with the pressure that more than likely to get on Burrow. I think it's a really tough matchup for him. And then on the other side of the ball, what is the game plan for the Rams? Because I think they could go to a couple different ways. I think there's a lot of different ways to attack this Bengals defense. They could just go to a complete, they could air it out all game long, and I feel like they could have success doing that. But I feel like McVay is kind of he's probably smarter than that, where he knows, hey, we got to be a little more balanced. So I think, and I think they could show that they could run the ball against this team. So a lot of different ways I think they can attack. So that's just interesting. I think the Rams are a better team on paper and just in general, just watching them. But there's something to be said about just playing really well at the end of the year, and understanding who you are and playing to your strengths. And the Bengals have been able to do that for the most part this entire season for sure, but really in the latter 6-7 weeks, they've just been really putting it together. So really interested to see what happens. 2 weeks of prep too. I think the coaching kind of comes out in that. You saw it a few years ago, when the Rams were here last time. No one had really been able to stop them all year, and then Belichick had 2 weeks to prepare and had it figured out. So it'll be really interesting to see, the coaching chess match a little bit here. Two pretty highly I think highly of both these guys. They're both young, but Zach Taylor's kind of really moved up the board in my opinion, and especially on offense. And McVay is McVay. He's been considered a savant for a while. So even though he looked stupid in that last game, but
yeah, that cannot continue for sure. But these teams are identical offensively, almost. At least points scored in a season. Both teams scored exactly 460 points, which turns out to be 27.1 points a game. And that's actually crazy that both Super Bowl teams scored exactly the same amount of points in the regular season. Both teams also went into the playoffs, losing, the last regular season game of the year. And then the defense isn't that far apart either. I think the Bengals have only given up 1.4 points a game more than the Rams have. So, there's obviously lots of key players that are missing. And, for the Rams, you think of like the likes of Robert Woods and Sebastian Joseph Day, Johnny Munt, Darrell Henderson, Jordan Fuller. And then some of the guys that are questionable would be Higby, Van Jefferson, and even Jaylen Ramsey and Andrew Whitworth went to questionable this week.
All play. Anybody questionable, I would expect to play.
I would too. And I haven't seen any that were considered doubtful, except for some people thought maybe Uzoma should have been kept as doubtful. He's been moved to questionable along with Jackson Carman, Cam Sample, and Stanley Morgan. But then the Bengals are also out on IR with Larry Ogunjobi, Jordan Evans, Auden Tate is out, Riley Reef is out, Darius Phillips, Trey Waynes and Joseph Osai. All those are key players of the game that, that's obvious talent that can make the Super Bowl even a better game than what it will be. But yeah, both these teams obviously got hot in the playoffs. And obviously a lot of people anticipated the Rams to be a Super Bowl team. I mean, I've been looking at mock drafts since July of 2021 and obviously accounting for the Lions draft pick for the Rams, the Rams have not gotten higher than 24. So that's a playoff team that's actually winning a wild card game and going to the divisional playoffs even. So there were expectations for the Rams. In regards to the Bengals, some people have them as a bottom 3 team. Some people had them picking 3rd overall in the draft at that time, which is it looked feasible at some point. They didn't address offensive line, which was the reason Joe Burrow got beat up last year, but Joe Burrow's been able to stay healthy this year. Offensive line play has improved a little bit, and I think they've
Jackson Carman, who I know he's not necessarily a starter, but he's a swing guy. He's played a lot and he has improved that offensive line. They just got better. That's really all it was. They didn't add anything really. They just got better, healthier and better.
Yeah, I don't know, and obviously adding another receiving weapon gives Burrow another quick read, whether it's Boyd, Higgins, or Chase. And I think Uzoma's taken a step forward there as well, too. I always thought Uzoma was a middle average tight end, maybe even below average starting tight end in the league. And he's probably propped himself to average or better than average at this point.
He's a threat now.
Defense, adding Trey Hendrickson obviously was huge, getting him from the Saints. That's going to be another key to the game. Trey Hendrickson and DJ Reader and Sam Hubbard, are they going to be able to get to Matthew Stafford? Because just like almost every quarterback in the league, you pressure them a little bit, especially early on in the game, it can get in their head. So I think Matthew's experience is going to come into play. Obviously not a lot of playoff experience and actually not much more than even Joe Burrow has. But this is a real opportunity we talked about at the beginning of the playoffs for Matthew Stafford to kind of start cementing his way into, instead of being a fringe Hall of Fame guy, maybe working his way to that Hall of Fame point. Obviously, one Super Bowl is not going to cut it. He's going to have to win more playoff games yet in the future, I think. But definitely in a good trajectory right at this point. So I think right now I'm confidently picking the Rams to win this game.
Yep.
But again, just the way the Bengals have been consistently getting better every week and shocking the world essentially since the regular season kind of kicked off. I think that there's always going to be that upset alert. It's the Super Bowl. We can't take into account heart and effort. And I think that there's different players that give more effort and better effort and just play better in the spotlight. And I think that's
got to win too. That's kind of been the Joe Burrow thing for a while. Like ever since anybody's ever talked to him, even like his, you hear stories about him from high school. Like the dude just doesn't really lose football games very often. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of one of those things where I don't know how you quantify that. You really can't. You can't sit there and be on paper other than like you look at a guy's career and you go, man, he just doesn't lose. It's Tom Brady thing too. It's just like they don't, even when on paper they don't seem to be as good, or their team at least doesn't seem to be as good. They find a way to pull it out. And
I was going to make the point of Matt Stafford actually has significantly better playoff numbers than Joe Burrow does. Touchdown interception ratio, completions percentage is better, yardage is better. But Burrow's still come up clutch when they need him to, and the defense has really stepped up as well. And the running game has been enough with Joe Mixon. So I think there's just all these intangibles that you can't always put into consideration. And I think just because it's the Super Bowl, it's the NFL, it can really be any given Sunday. It's hard to pick some of these games. So I think on paper, I think it is pretty clear that the Rams have the more talented team. I think McVay's playoff experience, Super Bowl experience, even over Zach Taylor. I think coaching is even better on paper. coordinator wise, position coach wise, and head coach wise. So,
yep.
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear that the Rams should win this game if things are normal. But
I think they should, and I think they will. But I still think it's going to be a game. I mean, I think the Bengals will find a way to keep it close, at least for most of the game. I don't know why I think that, because part of me thinks, okay, like they could go out there and just kill them, and I really think they could. Their defense can be overwhelming at times, and then I don't know how you cover Cooper Kupp. I mean, no one's been able to cover him all year, so. But I still think the Bengals will find a way to keep it close. I don't think that anything's going to phase them. I don't think they're going to get to a point where they kind of remind me of some of those Patriot teams where it's like, yeah, maybe on paper they aren't as good, but nothing phases their quarterback at all. And they're never going to feel like they're out of a game because they have a good quarterback and good players, good enough players, and they trust what they're doing. So yeah, I expect it to be a good game. I hope it is. I really hope it is, and not a blowout or something dumb.
Yeah, I mean, you always want the Super Bowl to be. I actually am picking a game where I feel like we'll know it's over at the 9-minute mark, probably of the fourth quarter. I think I'm going to probably say it's in the bag. So I'm not going to insinuate that it's a blowout, but I believe that 30-17 doesn't seem far off for me.
I could see it happening, but I could see it being like a touchdown game going in the fourth and then them pulling away or something like that. Mm-hmm. Definitely. The defense, I just think their defense is going to keep it. I mean, the Rams defense is going to keep them that offense down. So, and I don't see, even with all those three receivers, like I just don't think he's going to have enough time to just sit back there and pick them apart, throwing the ball 50 times. You know what I mean? And the run game isn't, complimentary enough. Joe Mixon's good, but he's not. And maybe
there's not anyone really changed. I mean, Samaje Perine and Chris Evans aren't those guys that are gonna break a game away either. Just giving him a breather, so he's got a workhorse this game as well.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't anticipate Darrell Henderson being activated for the Super Bowl.
No.
But Akers and Michelle have done a pretty nice job, kind of being that 1-2. So, I don't know. Going back to that Super Bowl, obviously, where they had the crazy offense, and it was one of the most boring Super Bowls of all time somehow.
Yep.
Totally unexpected. One of the most unexpectedly boring Super Bowls of all time. And
it was just kind of cool to watch. Like McVay, like he just had no answers though. He was just like, "What is going on?"
Belichick just had like his little smirk, like, "Yeah, my defense, we got
you."
Yeah. I just and that defense was. I mean, the Patriots' defense was no joke in the regular season either. So that part wasn't really a surprise. But when you put an explosive offense versus a solid offense with a really strong defense, like I still didn't expect like the most boring Super Bowl of all time, besides maybe the Panthers-Broncos Super Bowl.
Yeah,
I don't know. What is your pick for Super Bowl MVP?
The Rams win, which I'm going to pick them too. I'll say Stafford.
Yeah,
I know it's kind of a cop out, pick the quarterback, but like if the Rams win, I feel like he'll probably have 3 touchdowns and his typical stat, 280, 3 touchdowns. He might throw a pick.
Yeah,
that's about it.
I mean that's because that is my probable pick too if the Rams win. And I believe I think they will. But who's a sleeper? Who's a sleeper? Cooper Kupp? Okay.
Yeah,
I was actually going to say Odell Beckham.
Yeah, I mean OBJ could take it over.
That's my thing is is that really going to be Zach Taylor's focus on defense, where they're going to be like, all right, we're going to double cover this guy every time, and it's still double covering doesn't always work with Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp's still going to get maybe 6-7 catches for like 80 yards. I just think Odell Beckham could have 9 catches for 140 yards.
Yeah, and I think I could anticipate a game like remember when Deion Branch was Super Bowl MVP?
When he had 15 catches for like 100
catches for like 170 yards or something stupid. Yeah, I could see that from Cooper Kupp. Like that's the type of when you're just like, man, like, and maybe only like 1 or 2 touchdowns, maybe 1 touchdown even, but it's like, oh boy, like you look at it and it's like this guy is always open. He's always making a big catch on 3rd down or something like that. That's what I could see. if they decide to throw the ball a lot. So that's why I think he's got a chance.
If this game turns into the most boring Super Bowl of all time, then I'm going to pick the Bengals, and I'm going to pick Evan McPherson.
All right.
I think he's going to go. I can go 5 for 5. Yeah, 5 for 5 with an extra point, man. What is that, like 22?
15-9 or something.
Yeah, sheesh. It's 22 to like 12. I don't know.
Yeah.
Be bad.
Evan McPherson's been a weapon. He's been awesome.
He can't miss right now, so that's always something.
Yep.
So yeah, let's rank the top 30. We did this for the World Series as well. Let's rank the top 30 players in the Super Bowl. I mean, I was going to do top 106 players in the Super Bowl. I just don't think anyone has that kind of time.
No.
So, yeah, I'll let you go. I'll let you go first. Top 30 Super Bowl players this year.
I'm going to go with Aaron Donald at number 1. Arguably the best defensive player in the league still. So I think he deserves to be right here. And really how the Bengals even decide to even start their plan on offense begins and ends with how they plan on dealing with him. So whether they decide to double or triple or, what their run game looks like, what their pass, everything starts on how you're going to account for that guy. So I don't think there's another guy on the field. There's guys who maybe are close, but there's not another guy on the field that you got to sit there and literally account for him every single play. And before you even considered game planning for this game and coming up with a plan on how to attack, it was all, okay, how do we deal with Aaron Donald? So,
yeah, because you deal with him correctly, A'Shawn Robinson still might get 2 sacks, but you'll take A'Shawn Robinson's 2 sacks, so we're not dealing with him and giving 4.5 sacks to Aaron Donald.
Exactly.
So I agree that defensively, that's the number one focal point. But I'm going to go with the offensive focal point. That's the Bengals against the Bengals still, and that's going to be Cooper Kupp at number 2.
Yeah.
I think the secondary is going to have to keep an eye on where he is the entire game, because he has blown onto the scene the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Because this is like his 6th year in the league, and only like maybe the last 2-3 years has he been that guy, one of the better guys.
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, I always loved picking him up later in the mid rounds in fantasy because it was like, cool, he's going to get like 8 catches a game and great PPR guy. But this year he just blew up.
Yeah.
And part of it now he's got a different quarterback and that's probably a big deal. But yeah. So this is where it gets interesting. I'm going to go with Stafford here.
Okay.
I had him initially a little bit further down, but I'm actually going to go with Stafford here. I think this game is kind of a defining game, and I think he plays up to the level of this game too. And he's played really well in the playoffs thus far. I wouldn't say he's the only reason that they're where they are, but he is one of the biggest reasons.
I mean, he's got like a 6-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. He's got like almost 1,000 yards already in 3 games.
And I would also say he's like that change is the reason they're as far as they are this season. They're as good as they are overall. They have a lot of good players in that receiving core. Obviously, we've talked about how good that is, but he kind of brings it all together, having that elite quarterback. So that's what they were kind of missing the last couple of years. So.
I'm going to go with your probable number 3. I know you bumped up Stafford here, but I'm going to go with Jaylen Ramsey here at number 4. Obviously, we talked about how he is questionable in this game, and that kind of just came up like 2 days ago.
Yeah,
that he showed up on that list. So, I expect him to be fine, but when he is fine, he's probably guaranteed a top 3 corner in this league.
Yeah, and he's super important in this game, obviously, because if he can somehow take Jamar Chase out of the game, or it's going to be on Jamar Chase. But if he can somehow take away Jamar Chase consistently, then that changes what the Bengals can do. So I think that's a big deal. Speaking of, I'm actually going to go with Jamar Chase here at the next one, number 5. He's the big play threat, along with T. Higgins to an extent, but Jamar Chase is, rookie just blew up. We were talking about him before the year, and we were like, maybe not. Rookie receivers sometimes struggle. He has not struggled at all. So,
well, especially in the preseason, like he was like, oh man, is that a missed pick? They could have gotten Sewell. And then like we see drop after drop in the preseason. This dude was stiffing us for sure.
Yep. Yeah, he was just sandbagging everybody, just making people not pick him in fantasy. But ended up being one of the best receivers in the league. So, and I think his importance is huge, just because he's that comfort for Joe Burrow too. Obviously college teammates. So, if he's open all game, the Bengals are going to be able to move the ball. If he's not, then they got to find a different way to move it. And, that's a problem. So, definitely, I'm going to put him at number 5.
Well, you take your first Bengal there at 5. I'm going to take my first Bengal at 6. I'm going to go with Jesse Bates, the 3rd. Okay. I think he's a top 5 safety, probably in this league, maybe 8. I know there's a lot of really good safeties in the league, but in this Super Bowl, he's clearly the second best defensive back on both teams in this game. So I'm really high on him. Great ball hawk, strong tackler. And I like getting him in Madden too, because he's not always the first safety to come off the board, but he's going to do a good job for it.
Yeah, I can agree with that. What number is this? 7?
7, yeah.
I am going to go with Trey Hendrickson here.
Okay.
Number 7. He's been probably their biggest free agent signing for the Bengals in the offseason. Just really changed their defense. And he's probably going to be going up against Andrew Whitworth, who's like 95 years old.
That's still good.
And so that's going to be a big matchup to watch. And yeah, I mean, he's been worth the money for the Bengals, and he can kind of provide that pressure. And if he's able to do that, then I think they got a chance. And if Stafford's clean all game in the pocket, I think that's when the game could get ugly, in my opinion. So he's important.
Number 8, I'm going to go with Odell Beckham Jr. I actually had him 1 or 2 lower, but I just kind of talked about how he's kind of my sleeper guy, and there's a real opportunity he can go off in this game. And
getting better too. Like with this offense, he's getting
every
better.
Single game. I think he's shown he's getting better. But I mean, I think he joined week 9 or something, and is just kind of figuring out the playbook every week. And now he's got to have that whole playbook locked up. But now he's been a very valuable asset to that offense after they lost Robert Woods.
Yep.
I would probably put Robert Woods right in the spot anyway if he was up. So
yeah, I'd agree. Number 9.
Yep. Are you gonna go with number 9?
Yeah, I got to. Yeah, we'll go with Joe Burrow here. I had him 1 spot ahead, but that's fine. I mean, yeah, he's proven himself to be a top 10 quarterback now. I think he deserves being a top 10. Obviously we'll probably talk about that in the offseason, but he's living up to the draft pick and the hype, for sure. And I mean, you get your team to the Super Bowl your second year. It's pretty impressive. And he's without some superb quarterback play, they aren't even close to where they are right now. So he's stepped it up and he's been awesome.
And that's obviously still with remaining concerns on the offensive line.
Yeah, and I mean, he's getting beat up too. He's getting smoked on some of these.
He stays in the pot. The fact that he got killed already his rookie year, he's getting killed still this year, and he still has the confidence to throw the football, stay in the pocket. Like he's a bright future, man.
Yeah, he's a tough guy as long as he's healthy. They do need to.
It must be a number 9. It must be a number 9 thing to be a tough quarterback.
Right. They do need to bolster his offensive line at some point, but impressive. I mean, the Bengals, we'll talk about, I guess, futures of NFL teams, but they've got one of the brightest futures you could even think of right now. Because this is, to me, getting the Super Bowl this early. And, I mean, they've got a big window here now. I mean, they could just continue to build. And he's obviously the centerpiece. So, yeah. And he's now they're starting to come up with Chuck Norris-like things about him. Joe Burrow, Joe Burrow's shadow's afraid of Joe Burrow, that type of stuff. So he's a myth now.
Yeah, it's already almost a legend too from there.
Yeah, he's definitely a legend. So
Cincinnati. I haven't put him there yet, but he'll get there. Number 10, I'm going to go with Joe Mixon.
Yep.
Like I said, he's got to be the workhorse. I know he's never been like that big, standout running back in the league. That doesn't always get that recognition, but he's got to be the workhorse because right now they don't have another running back to pair him with. They kind of were hoping Travion Williams might have been that a couple years ago. Samaje Perine's just been around the league for a while, but hasn't really been a nice number 2. And then obviously you pick up Chris Evans, but he's that receiving third down back you want. So things are just different. So we're gonna be seeing a lot of Joe Mixon in this game, I imagine.
Yeah, and he's a good receiver too. I like him out of the backfield receiver too. So it will be interesting to see what they do with him and how they use him. Like I said, I'm always curious to see what these teams look like with 2 weeks of prep. The new stuff they put in is always interesting. So 11. I'm gonna go with Von Miller at 11. He started really slow when he first got with the Rams, but he's kind of picked up the pace lately, and I think he's really going to show up this game. And he could wreck the game. He's still that kind of guy, especially if you're, with all the attention we talked about that they're going to have to pay to Aaron Donald, Von Miller. Obviously, if you single that guy up one-on-one, you're asking for problems too. So. There's sometimes earlier when they first got him that I kind of forgot that they had Von Miller, and then he'd sack a quarter. I'm like, wait, that's not fair. They have him too. I'm like, that's dumb.
I've always thought he was washed up, but like he's still effective.
Yeah, and I just think he should be super effective in this game because one, it is still a deficient offensive line for the Bengals, even though they are a little bit better. And two, I mean, Aaron Donald just commands double teams all game long, so you should be able to single him up. So it'll be interesting. So I'm going to still go with him. I think he's fringe top 10 still.
Well, this is kind of rounding out pretty close to how I've had it expected. Picking Andrew Whitworth here at 12 will officially round out my top 12 so far. And yeah, we've already brought up his name. He's almost 100 years old, but I mean, he's got a task in front of him with Trey Hendrickson, who we've already brought up at number 7. So he's got to really stand up. He's questionable in this game as well. So hopefully that osteoporosis hasn't kicked in yet for the game.
I was about to say with what, extreme oldness? I don't know, like hair loss. What are we doing here? What's his issue?
Dementia has not stepped in there.
He forgot the playbook.
Dementia is in the building.
Yeah, exactly. He is 40 though, isn't he? Isn't he like one of the?
Yeah, he's the oldest position player in the league. So, and I think he'll be the oldest Super Bowl player besides Tom Brady. So
yeah, I think so. Amazing. All right, I'm gonna go with DJ Reader next.
That's my next. Nicely done,
son. They have to get pressure on Stafford, and I think he's the interior pressure there, and he's great against the run. So, if they have to get pressure on Stafford, and the way to do that is to make them one-dimensional. And I think that's a big. I think DJ Reader is a big key to that. Because the Rams have shown, they won't force the throw. Like if you just give up gashing runs, they'll run the ball for 200 yards on you. They don't care. McVay's not. Although like I said, it comes with a caveat. He looked like an idiot last week, but he's not an idiot typically, so he knows what he's doing. They'll run the ball on you if you give that to him. Especially in the Super Bowl, they're just going to go for the win. So Reader's a big part in stopping that. So
especially without Ogunjobi in this game. Like I know that interior has taken a big step forward this year, especially with Reader's kind of always gone under the radar. He started with the Texans for the first 3 years of his career, and now this is his second year, I believe, with the Bengals. But he's taken a huge step having Ogunjobi next to him, and then
I've always liked him. I've always thought he's good.
Yeah, and in the presence of Sam Hubbard and Hendrickson on the edge, like things have really improved for that front seven. So I think that's why we're seeing more success from DJ Reader this year. Definitely. So I like that. That's who I had at 13. I'm going to go right down the list. 14, I have Leonard Floyd here, outside linebacker for the Rams. This seems like he's so quick at picking up screens, which I think is going to be something that the Bengals are really going to try to do with Mixon's receiving ability. Chris Evans can receive. And then when you got 3 athletic receivers, any one of those guys can be quick on the screen. So they're going to need Leonard Floyd to eyeball or kind of keep an eye out on any of those screens to prevent those from going big. So I think Floyd, and consistently as a pass rusher, solid tackler, just not appreciated when he was with Chicago Bears. Another guy that's found a home with the Rams.
Yeah, I like that. I'll go with Sam Hubbard here.
Okay.
Obviously, we talked about Hendrickson. He's the other guy on the edge. They move him around a lot. They play him, inside sometimes, try to get a different pass rush. he creates problems he's a bigger guy too, as for an edge guy. So he creates a lot of problems. And my key to the game is Bengals getting pressure on Stafford, stopping the run and then getting pressure on Stafford. So Sam Hubbard is another key part of that. And I think if they're able to do that, they have a chance. And if not, I don't think they have much of a chance this game. So
in these last couple picks, we're definitely seeing a lot of guys that are really talented and vastly underappreciated. And he's been underappreciated his entire football career when he had to be next to Nick Bosa. It's like you just get overshadowed. And Chase Young was on that roster too, and
still very good at Ohio State. So
yes, he was very effective there. And I think even since he came in, he was one of the, I think, final 5 defensive rookie of the year finalists too in his rookie year. So he's definitely got potential, and I think he can really only improve. So I like that pick as well. At 16, I'm going to go with T. Higgins for the Bengals. Obviously, another guy that could turn out to be like what I predicted OBJ might be in this game. If you got to put so much focus with Ramsey, one-on-ones with Jamar Chase, then, Darius Williams or David Long are going to have to do their job to try to shut down T. Higgins. Maybe even they bring up Blake Countess in this game. How about that?
There you go. They need they're going to need
all of them, all hands on deck.
Yeah. He sees one-on-one more, especially with the attention they have to put on Chase, and he's had a really good postseason. So I think he's got a chance for a big game as long as they can protect Burrell for sure. This is where we're going to get interesting a little bit. I'll just go with the other receiver. Why not? I'm just going to go with Tyler Boyd here.
Yep.
Just because I think he can have a big game in the slot. He's a bigger slot receiver. He's not a burner like a lot of the slots anymore, but he's typically always open. And I think he can create a lot of problems, especially if Uzomah isn't going to be able to play. Then that's not good, obviously, but he's those two in the slot and tight end really create problems over the middle of the defense, especially with all the attention that you got to put on Higgins and Chase. So I think Boyd's just sure-handed. He's been there a long time. He knows what he's doing, and he's kind of a safety blanket for Joe Burrow. So I think he belongs right here.
Yeah, and this will be interesting on my number 18 because I have Tyler Higby here, and I know last game they got really nervous. They were getting down to Bryson Perkins because Johnny Munt went out in that game, and now Munt's on IR out for the year. And Higby is just like Uzomah, a questionable tight end at this point. So it'll be interesting who they bring up in that situation because I didn't even see anyone on the practice squad that they could bring up at tight end.
Is Kendall Blanton hurt?
Oh, you're right. Kendall Blanton is on that, isn't he? Well, no, Bryson Perkins must have gotten hurt then as well in that game. It was Munt and Perkins and then Higby getting hurt. Blanton was their only one of 4 guys left.
He actually played okay.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, that's a good sign.
Obviously, I think I would rank him in like the 80s. Still,
I'm not against that, dude. That's some talent at tight end for sure. And I think Stafford's rapport with tight ends. I think he loves his tight ends.
Yep.
So I think Higby has an opportunity for a pretty good game too. There are a lot. We've talked about it. There are a lot of weapons, especially in the receiving game for both of these teams. And I think any one of them can really go off in this game and be a difference maker in that pass game. So with Stafford's rapport with Higby, I think without Stafford, I'd probably put Higby maybe right around 25 to 30, but I think I'm going to put Higby here at 18. I just think Stafford likes his tight ends, and Higby's a good guy to go to.
Yeah. I'm going to go with Rob Havenstein.
That's my next guy. Nicely done.
Yep. I mean, he's still arguably one of the better right tackles in the entire league. Just a mauler. And obviously, him and Whitworth really have done a pretty good job of protecting Stafford all year. That's going to be a key. I mean, I think he's as healthy as he's going to be at this point regarding Stafford. But again, if there's pressure on him, like any quarterback, he has problems with pressure. So I think that's going to be a key. And if they can protect him on the edge, they're going to find a ton of success. So
I am going to go with number 20 here. I'm going to go with Von Bell.
Yep.
Safety for the Bengals, and I've heard him in a couple articles saying he's comparing the Bengals this year to the 2014 Buckeyes. I mean, more power to you, I guess. But he also is going into this game with humility. I think he understands the weapons that he's going up against. He said nothing but, good things about Cooper Kupp and Odell Beckham, and he's mentioned Higby, and I think with his respect for these players, I think he's gonna play them like the respect that he's giving them. He's gonna play them hard. So I think this is a game where he's gonna play pretty well, and obviously
he had a really good game against Mahomes.
Yeah,
like really well. Played really
I think
well.
this again, him and Jesse Bates as the safety duo back there. I think it works for him, and so I like Von Bell here right around 20, anywhere 20 and 25. I felt like he was well deserved.
Yeah. I'm gonna go, and this might throw you off. I'm gonna go Mike Hilton here.
Okay.
All right. Just because of his importance in this game, I think he's gonna be in the slot a lot. He's been one of the better slot corners, nickels in the league this year. He's very fast, and I think he's gonna be on Cooper Kupp a lot. So his ability to take some of what Cooper Kupp does away is gonna really kind of change this game. If they're able to do some of that, then I think I think they're going to be able to stay in it. And if not, if Cooper Kupp is just torching him, then, it's going to be a tough game for them. So,
Hilton is, he's been regarded even when he was the Steelers as one of the best slot corners in the league. So
I always liked him. I always wanted the Lions to get him somehow, because that's been a deficiency.
He was available obviously 2 years ago. Now he's on his second year, but he's great. But we like Justin Coleman better at that point, I guess. Oh, man, 22. I'm gonna go with Cam Akers here. I'm not really super stoked about it, but I think Cam Akers, he's been really good in the playoffs before. I think they kind of slowly worked him back into it after he had his injury by giving opportunities to other running backs in the room. I think Akers could have a good game. His fumbling issues have really risen to the cause in the last couple games. So I think he's got to protect that football. And I think the Bengals defense is going to hawk him for it. So
yeah, I think he'll get a shot, but if he fumbles, I don't think you see much of him the rest of the game.
Because it's been too prevalent all postseason. McVay's not going to take that chance when you have Sony Michel.
Right, and he's had good games, right? He even had a good game against the Bucs, but it was like, dude, you're giving them the game. Literally, almost was the reason they lost.
Yeah, because he fumbled it right before halftime when they could have went up bigger, and then the end and like 2 minutes left. Mm-hmm. Yeah, those are huge.
That was crazy. I'm gonna go A'Shawn Robinson here.
Okay.
I really don't love A'Shawn Robinson, but I just think he's again one of those guys up front where if you're putting a ton of attention on Aaron Donald, he can still go off on you, and he's a big guy. And if the Bengals want to run the ball at all, which I actually don't think they will or can, but if they want to run the ball at all, A'Shawn Robinson is going to have something to say about that. So, he's going to be a big part of keeping them one-dimensional, which I think they will be regardless. But, I'll go with him here.
Okay. Okay, 24. I'm going to go with Chidobe Awuzie.
Yeah.
Corner for the Bengals.
That was a good signing. That was a good pickup for them.
Yeah, from the Cowboys, because the Cowboys were pretty deep at that point at corner, and so I think he came at a pretty fair price. And then obviously with the improvement of Trevin Diggs, they didn't even need Awuzie at that point. So this was a good landing spot for him to the Bengals, and I think he's again another guy that's going to have his hands full. Is going to be opposite. He's probably going to be right up with Odell Beckham. I don't know if he's not the main guy in Cooper Kupp, right?
I would think Mike Hilton's on him a lot, and then I would think, Awuzie has had some really good games against some good receivers. So
you're looking at probably Eli Apple on the other side.
I would say Eli Apple's on the other side, but Awuzie is probably going to play. He's
OBJ a lot.
There. Yeah. He's going to be OBJ a lot, I would guess. And then Eli Apple on the other side.
Van Jefferson or something. Yeah.
Yeah, but I also, Kupp's in the slot a lot, probably most of the time. So I would expect a safety help over the top, and plus Mike Hilton a ton. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see because I really do like the DBs for their whole, defensive.
They've all got pretty good experience. That's for sure.
I like every single one of them, but it's like, man, that receiver bunch is tough. It doesn't matter who you are. So, what number is this?
25.
I'm gonna go with Eric Weddle here.
Okay.
Obviously he came out of retirement right before the playoffs, which is just interesting. And now
he's rated as one of their best players though in the last game.
Yeah, he's a massive part of their defense. So, he had 9 tackles. He's really good in the run game. So I think he kind of holds it together for them back there. And he's veteran presence. He's played in a lot of big games. He's ancient, but that's okay.
Yeah.
He's got one more game left, so that's all right.
Oh man, 26. I will take CJ Uzoma here.
Yeah, if he plays, I think he belongs right about here.
Yeah, just again taking steps up every year he's been in the league. Because I was not high on him even coming into the league, and I think he's starting to grow on me a little bit. So yeah, like you basically covered the whole scouting report on him. If he plays him and Boyd in the slot, probably it's going to be, it kind of opens up the field in the middle. So hopefully he can kind of take over that Walmart version of Travis Kelce and kind of let the over the top fly a little bit. So
yeah, I mean, I think when you're putting all that attention on the other guys, Uzoma sometimes the guy that you're not paying as much attention to, and he's good enough to get open on one-on-one against linebackers and safeties. So he's big. He's fast. So he's got a good enough quarterback now. So that's kind of why you've seen him take the step up. I think the real step up, yeah, he's gotten better, but I think the real step up is he's got a lot of good receivers around him that open him up a little bit more. So
that's true. Yeah.
7?
7. Yep.
Oh boy. I'll go with Logan Wilson here. I don't really love He had a great beginning of the year, and then he had a real rough middle part. But he's really played well in the playoffs so far. He's still young, linebacker, is still figuring it all out. But I think he's really important in this game because, like I said, if the Rams, the Bengals need the Rams to be one-dimensional. So he's got to be a big part in stopping the run, especially early in the game. So I think he's important. I think he's one of their better players. So we'll go Logan Wilson here.
28, I'll go with Quentin Spain, guard for the Bengals. And man, yeah, like we talked about, he's going to have his hands full. He's going to be part of those double teams on Aaron Donald. And I think he's probably in my opinion, I think he's probably the best offensive lineman for the Bengals, which is crazy that here we have the best offensive lineman for the Bengals at 28. That's got to be concerning for the Bengals against this front. So that will be a big difference maker. But Quentin Spain has been a reliable player. He can switch from tackle and guard, and he was good with the Titans, and he's continued it on with the Bengals. So he's got to be a mainstay and hold strong in the middle as best as he can because that's a task.
Yep. I'll go with Eli Apple here at the end here. Yeah, he's solid corner. He's perfect for their defense. I think he makes big plays. He's really improved in the run game. So he's got good ball skills. He's just kind of gotten better each year. Another Ohio State guy there, but they got a lot of Cincinnati, like Ohio natives on that team. Maybe that's part of it. I don't know. But yeah, no, he's just solid, and he's extremely important in this game. Obviously, that whole defensive backfield is going to be tested. And I would say if I were to choose what corner to go after, I would probably still choose him. But he's gotten to a point where it's not an automatic. He's not a weak link. He just might be the weakest of them. Doesn't mean he's not going to get burned in this game. But I just think he's certainly improved and belongs in the top 30.
And this one may be just for funsies at 30. I'm going to go with Evan McPherson.
Yeah,
for the Bengals. I mean, he's a huge reason the Bengals aren't really here. I mean, he's just not missed. And a lot of their games have come down to field goals and then needing multiple field goals to win those games.
The Rams do not have the match at kicker. So
I saw a stat that if he has at least 4 field goals in this game, he will be the second kicker in playoff history to have all playoff games with at least 4+ field goals or more, next to Adam Vinatieri.
That's great.
Who was the greatest playoff kicker of all time.
Right. That's crazy.
So that's kind of just a funsies 30 because, kickers aren't considered as valuable, unfortunately. But, there's plenty of honorable mentions. I've got B.J. Hill, defense tackle for the Bengals. I've got Darius Williams for the Rams. Johnny Hecker, you could say, for the Rams, too. Jonah Williams for the Bengals. Sony Michel, Van Jefferson, Taylor Rapp, and Nick Scott are all guys that probably could be close if you start pushing this to a list of 40. So, yeah. I think this is a pretty strong list, and I think there's enough superstar power in this game where it should be a fun watch.
Yeah, I'm excited for it, definitely.
And I think there's a gender reveal during it too. So
right. I guess I'll watch that.
Yeah, you'll watch that too at halftime because who wants to watch Dr. Dre?
Right. What if you just tell me Dr. Dre gender reveal?